Yuna had seen dead worlds before. She had walked through empty cities where no voice had spoken for 1,000 years. She had touched walls that still held the warmth of fires that burned long ago. But nothing prepared her for the silence of the Velith Empire. The ruins stretched across the planet like broken teeth. Great towers of crystal and metal lay shattered against the ground. Libraries that once held the knowledge of 1,000,000 years sat open to the cold wind. And everywhere there was dust. Her ship, the Pale Horizon, sat on a platform that the Velith had built for visitors. They had expected guests. They had prepared welcome messages in 100 languages. They had believed that one day, someone would come to learn from them. No one came in time. Yuna pulled her coat tighter against the wind. She was an archivist for the Korath Dominion, and her job was simple. Find the dead. Learn what killed them. Make sure it never happened to her people. Behind her, Do-Yun was setting up the translation equipment. He was a quiet male with gentle eyes and steady hands. He never spoke more than he needed to. Yuna liked that about him. "The main archive is underground," she said. "The scans show it is still powered. Whatever happened here, it happened fast. They did not even have time to turn off the lights." Do-Yun nodded and followed her toward the entrance. The doors opened without resistance. Inside, soft blue light filled the hallways. Screens flickered with information that no one would ever read. Somewhere deep in the building, machines still hummed. Waiting for masters who would never return, they walked for nearly an hour before they found it. The final chamber. The last record. It was a crystal, about the size of Yuna's fist, sitting on a pedestal in the center of the room. Light moved inside it like trapped lightning. This was how the Velith stored their most important memories, their history, their warnings. "Can you read it?" Yuna asked. Do-Yun connected his equipment to the pedestal. Numbers and symbols flashed across his screen. He frowned. Then his face went pale. "What is it?" "I need to check something," he said. His voice was strange. Tight. "Give me a moment." Yuna watched him work. His fingers moved faster now. He pulled up old files from their database. Records from other dead civilizations. The Orium Collective. The Tirith Federation. The Singing Mines of Villar Prime. 16 empires that had risen and fallen before the Velith. Do-Yun compared the files. He compared them again. Then he looked at Yuna with eyes full of something she had never seen in him before. Fear. "They all left the same message," he said. "What do you mean?" "The Velith. The Orium. The Tirith. All of them. 17 civilizations. 17 empires. They all left the same warning before they died." He turned his screen toward her. The words glowed in the dim light. Asterisk, "We found them. The sleeping ones beneath Salthari. We thought to wake them. The Guardians stopped us. Do not go to Earth. Do not seek what sleeps there. The Guardians are savage. But they protect you from something worse." Asterisk, why Yuna read the words 3 times. Her heart beat faster with each reading. "This cannot be right," she said. 17 civilizations did not all die for the same reason. The Council has studied each collapse. They were caused by different things. War, disease, resource failure, internal conflict. The Council never found the final archives, Do-Yun said. They only studied what was left on the surface. The easy records. The public histories. But the final messages, the last words of dying civilizations, they were always hidden, protected, waiting for someone to find them. And they all mention Earth. They all mention the Guardians. And something worse. Yuna sat down on the cold floor. Her mind was spinning. Earth was a small planet in a small system on the edge of the galaxy. The Dominion had ignored it for centuries. There was nothing there. Just a young species that had barely learned to leave their own world. They called themselves humans. She had seen images of them. Soft skin, no claws, no armor, short lives. They fought among themselves constantly. By every measure, they should have died out long ago, and yet 17 civilizations had feared them. No, not feared them. Feared what they protected. You need to tell the council, Yuna said. She returned to the Dominion 3 weeks later. She presented her findings to the High Council in their great chamber of glass and light. She showed them the recordings. She played the translations. She explained the pattern. They did not believe her. Coincidence, said the first speaker. 17 civilizations over 1 million years. Of course, some of them would mention the same planet. Sal-3 is in a central location. Many species would have encountered it. But the warnings are identical, Yuna said. The same words. The same fear. They all speak of guardians. They all speak of something sleeping beneath the surface. Old legends, said another council member. Myths pass from one empire to the next. You are chasing stories, archivist, not truth. Yuna felt anger rise in her chest. I am chasing the only pattern that connects 17 dead civilizations. Does that mean nothing to you? It means you are tired, the first speaker said. Take rest. Return to your work when your mind is clear. They dismissed her. Just like that, why you and I stood outside the council chamber for a long time. The sun was setting over the capital city. Ships moved through the orange sky like silver fish. Somewhere, children were laughing. Life continued. The Dominion continued, but for how long? She found Do-Yan waiting for her at the spaceport. He was not alone. 2 others stood with him. Tai-Ho, a combat specialist with scars on his face and silence in his eyes. Mingy, a neuroscientist who studied minds and memories. They did not listen, Do-Yan said. It was not a question. No. Then we go ourselves. Yuna looked at the 3 of them. They were risking everything. Their careers. Their safety. Perhaps their lives. And for what? A pattern in the dust of dead worlds? But the pattern was real. She knew it in her bones. Earth is far, she said. The journey will take months. We may find nothing. We may find something that kills us. 17 civilizations found something, Tai-Ho said. His voice was deep and rough. I want to know what, Minji nodded. The human mind. I have studied their broadcasts for years. They are strange, contradictory, violent and gentle at the same time. I need to understand them. Yuna looked at Do-Yan. Someone needs to write what we find, he said simply. If we die, the next archivist should not have to start from nothing. She almost smiled. Then we go, she said. We go to Earth. We find the Guardians. And we learn what 17 civilizations died trying to reach. The pale horizon lifted off at midnight. The stars spread out before them like scattered diamonds. Somewhere among them, a small blue planet waited. Earth, the home of the Guardians, the prison of something worse. The journey to Sol System took for months. For months of empty space. For months of waiting. For months of reading every scrap of information about humans that existed in the Dominion. Databases, there was not much. Humans had been observed for about 300 years. They were classified as a pre-contact species, meaning the Dominion had decided they were too young to meet. Their technology was primitive. Their societies were divided. They spent most of their energy fighting each other over invisible lines on their maps. The reports described them as unremarkable and unlikely to survive another millennium. Yuna read these reports every night and every night. She wondered how a species so unremarkable could frighten 17 empires into their graves. On the morning of the 123rd day, they entered Sol System. Tai-Ho was the first to see it. He was standing at the observation window when he called out to the others. His voice was strange, almost confused. Come look at this. They gathered at the window. Before them, the yellow star called Sol burned bright and steady. Planets moved in their ancient orbits. And there, third from the star, a small blue marble floated in the black dot Earth. It was beautiful. Clouds swirled across its surface like white paint on blue canvas. Green and brown patches showed land beneath the mist. A single moon circled it slowly, pale and quiet. Scan it, Yuna said. Minji worked the sensors. Numbers and images filled the screens. As the data came in, her expression changed. Confusion, then disbelief. This cannot be right, she said. What? The radiation levels on the surface, they are high, much higher than safe for most species. And the atmosphere is full of oxygen. Pure oxygen. It is a fire waiting to happen. But they live there, Doyan said. They breathe poison. They walk under a star that burns their skin. Their world is covered with water that they cannot drink. And they have predators. Hundreds of predators. Some of them live in their own homes. She pulled up more data. Images of earth animals. Creatures with sharp teeth and claws. Insects that carried disease. Plants that produce toxins. The ocean alone contained things that could swallow a human whole. By every calculation, Mingi said, humans should be extinct. Their biology is weak. Their lifespans are short. They have no natural weapons. A child of most species would survive longer on a hostile world than an adult human would. And yet they are still there, Taiho said. And yet they are still there. Yuna moved closer to the window. The blue planet seemed peaceful from this distance. Quiet, ordinary. But she knew better now. This was not a normal world. This was a world that should have killed everything on it. And somehow, the weakest creatures had survived, had done more than survive, had thrived. What about the system? She asked. Are there signs of battle? Old weapons? Debris? Taiho checked the military sensors. He frowned. It's nothing, he said. The system is clean. No radiation signatures from weapons fire. No debris fields. No broken ships. That is impossible. I know. Every other fallen civilization had left marks. When the Orium Collective died, their final battle left a debris field that stretched across 3 star systems. When the Tyrith Federation fell, their weapons burned scars into moons that were still visible today. War left traces. Always. But Sol System was pristine. As if no battle had ever been fought here. Or as if every battle had been so complete that nothing remained. Yuna felt cold. They mentioned the Guardians in the warnings. They said the Guardians stopped them. How does a primitive species stop an interstellar empire? No one had an answer. They spent 3 days in orbit, watching, listening. Human broadcasts filled the radio frequencies. Music that made no sense. Arguments about things that did not matter. Advertisements for food and machines and entertainment. Humans talked constantly. They broadcast every thought into the void as if they did not care who might be listening. Doyen recorded everything. He studied their languages, their patterns, their humor. They laugh at death, he said one evening. They make jokes about their own mortality, about disasters, about pain. I have never seen a species do this. Is it a defense mechanism? Mingi asked. I do not know. But they face darkness by laughing at it. As if fear is a choice they refuse to make. Una thought about this. Fear was natural. Fear kept species alive. Every creature in the galaxy knew to run from danger. But humans made fun of it? What kind of minds did they have? On the 4th day, Doyan found something else. He had been filtering the radio signals, searching for patterns, when his equipment picked up something buried in the noise. There's another signal, he said. Hidden, old. It is coming from beneath the planet's surface. How old? I cannot tell. Older than human civilization? Perhaps older than humans themselves. The signal was faint but steady. A pulse, a heartbeat. Something calling out from the deep places of Earth where no human had ever gone. The sleepers, Yuna whispered. The room went silent. 417 civilizations. This signal had been the beginning of the end. They had heard it. They had followed it. They had tried to reach whatever was calling. And then they had died. But Yuna was not like them. She was not looking for power. She was not looking to wake anything. She just wanted to understand. We need to go down there, she said. Taiho looked at her. The warnings said the Guardians are savage. They stopped empires. What chance do we have? We are not here to fight. We are not here to wake anything. We are just here to learn. Will the Guardians know the difference? Yuna did not answer. She could not. Mingy was staring at the planet. Her eyes were distant. They have cities, she said. Billions of humans living in towers of glass and stone. They have art, music, stories. They cry at sad things and laugh at happy things. They love each other, and they kill each other, and they keep building anyway. She turned to look at the others. Whatever they are guarding, they do not even know it. Most of them have never heard of us. They think they are alone in the universe. They wake up every morning on a world that wants to kill them, and they go to work, and they raise their children, and they dream about the stars. What is your point? Taiho asked. My point is that they are not soldiers standing guard. They are just people, living their lives. If they can stop empires without even knowing it, then we need to understand how. We need to see them up close. Yuna nodded slowly. Then we land. We walk among them. We watch them, and we hope they do not notice us. Doyen began preparing the disguise technology. Holographic projectors that would make them look human. Voice modulators that would translate their words into human language. Clothing that matched human fashion. They would go to Earth. They would meet the Guardians face to face. And maybe, just maybe, they would survive long enough to learn the truth. The pale horizon began its descent. Below them, the blue planet waited. 17 civilizations had died trying to conquer, but slept beneath its surface. Why UNA was not here to conquer anything? She was here to understand, and that, perhaps, would make all the difference. Seoul at night was a river of light. Yuna had seen grand cities before, the crystal towers of the Dominion capital, the floating gardens of Velar Prime. But nothing had prepared her for this. Millions of humans moved through streets that never slept. Signs burned with colors she did not have names for. Music poured from doorways. Voices shouted and laughed and sang. The four of them walked among the crowd, invisible. Their holographic disguises were perfect. To human eyes, they looked like ordinary people. Tall, perhaps, a little strange, but not alien. Taiho stayed close to Yuna. His hand was near his weapon, hidden under his coat. Every instinct told him this was dangerous. They were surrounded by the Guardians, the beings that had destroyed 17 civilizations, and they were walking among them like prey in a field of predators. But the humans did not notice. They did not look up. They did not sense the strangers in their midst. They just kept moving, living, being human. They are so loud, Minji said. Her voice came through the communicator in Yuna's ear. Their brains are producing constant activity, emotions, thoughts, memories. It is like standing in a storm. Are they aware of us? No, they are too busy being aware of themselves. They walked deeper into the city. Past shops selling food that smelled like fire and sugar. Past young humans staring at glowing screens in their hands. Past an old woman feeding birds that gathered at her feet like children. Then Taiho stopped. Fire, he said. Yuna looked. 3 blocks away, smoke was rising from a building. Orange flames licked at the windows. Alarms were screaming, and humans were running. Running toward it. What are they doing? Doyan asked. They watched as humans in heavy coats rushed into the burning building. Others stood outside organizing help. Someone was shouting orders. Someone else was comforting a crying child. They are going inside, Taiho said. His voice was strange. The building is on fire, and they are going inside. To save the others, Yuna realized. More humans arrived. Vehicles with flashing lights, people with tools and water. The fire was still spreading, still dangerous, still deadly. And the humans did not stop. They climbed ladders. They broke windows. They carried out strangers they had never met. One of them died. Yuna saw it happen. A section of roof collapsed. A human male in heavy gear disappeared under the flames. His partners screamed his name. They tried to reach him. They could not. But they did not stop. They kept working, kept saving, kept fighting a fire that had already taken one of their own. Taiho whispered. Why did they do this? No one had an answer. They walked away from the fire, shaken and silent. The streets grew quieter as midnight passed. Eventually they found a small restaurant with warm light and the smell of cooking food. A sign said it was open all night. Inside, an old man stood behind a counter. He had gray hair and kind eyes and hands that moved with the practice of many years. He was making soup. The only soup, it seemed, that this place served. Ramen, the menu said. They sat down. The old man looked at them and smiled. Late night. He asked. Yes, Yuna said. The translator made her voice sound human. Very late? First time eating ramen? Yes, then I will make it special. He worked in silence. The kitchen filled with steam and warmth. Outside, the city continued its endless movement. Inside, there was only this small man and his simple soup. His name was Junho. He told them this when he served their bowls. He had owned this shop for 40 years. His father had owned it before him, and his grandmother had made the recipe. My grandmother survived the war, he said, sitting down across from them. The big one, when the country was broken in two. She lost everything. Her home, her family, her hope. But she kept cooking. She said that if she could fill one belly, the world was not completely dark. Yuna tasted the soup. It was simple. Noodles and broth and vegetables. Nothing special by any measure. But somehow, it was warm in a way that went deeper than her stomach. You are not from here, Junho said. Yuna froze. Your accent, he continued. I cannot place it. Where are you from? Far away, Doyan said. Ah, travelers. I like travelers. They have the best stories. They talked for an hour. Junho told them about his life. His wife, who had died 10 years ago. His children, who had moved to other cities. His grandchildren, who visited once a year. He spoke about loneliness and joy and the strange beauty of growing old. In return, they asked him questions. About humans. About Earth. About what his people believed. We believe in many things, Junho said. Some believe in gods. Some believe in science. Some believe in nothing at all. But I think most of us believe in each other. In the small kindnesses, the moments of connection. The stranger who helps you when you fall. Even when the world is hard, Minji asked, especially then. When everything is dark, the small lights matter most. Then it happened. Yuna reached for her cup, and her sleeve caught on the edge of the table. The holographic projector on her wrist flickered, just for a moment. Just long enough, her true hand was visible. Blue-gray skin. Too many fingers? Not human, Junho saw it. His eyes widened. His hand stopped halfway to his own cup. Yuna's heart stopped. Taiho's hand moved toward his weapon, but Junho just looked at her. Really looked. Not with fear. Not with anger. Just with quiet curiosity. Then he stood up, walked to the counter, and came back with a pot of water. You look tired, he said, refilling her cup. Long night, huh? Yuna stared at him. You saw. I see many things in this city, Junho said. Drunk people who think they can fly. Young lovers hiding from their parents. Old men who talk to ghosts. He smiled. A person with strange hands is not the strangest thing I have seen. You are not afraid? Should I be? Yuna did not know how to answer. Junho sat back down. My grandmother told me a story once. About visitors from the stars. She said they came long ago when the world was young. They came hungry. Wanting something that slept beneath the earth. The room went very quiet. What happened? Doyan asked. We stopped them. That is what she said. The first people. The old tribes. They stood against the visitors and said no. Not with weapons. Not with magic. Just with the word no, spoken so strongly that even the stars could not ignore it. How is that possible? Junho shrugged. I do not know. My grandmother did not know either. She said some things are true even when they cannot be explained. The visitors went away. The sleepers stayed sleeping. And we kept living. He looked at Yuna with eyes that were old and wise and sad. You are looking for the sleepers, are you not? That is why you came here. Yuna nodded slowly. There was no point in lying. They're still there, Junho said. Beneath the water. Beneath the stone. Dreaming their dark dreams. And we are still here, standing guard. Most of us do not know it. Most of us have forgotten, but the duty remains. How do you guard something you have forgotten? Junho smiled. It was a smile that held centuries of pain and hope and stubborn, foolish courage. By living, he said. By getting up every morning. By making soup for strangers. By running into burning buildings to save people we have never met. By refusing to give up, even when everything tells us we should. He poured more soup into her bowl. That is how we guard the sleepers. We live so loudly, so stubbornly, so defiantly, that they cannot wake. Our noise is their silence. Our light is their darkness. Our small, foolish, beautiful lives are the chains that hold them down. Yuna looked at the old man, this weak, fragile, dying creature who owned a tiny shop and made simple soup. This human who had nothing but his stories and his kindness. And she understood. The Guardians were not warriors. They were not monsters. They were just people. Ordinary people doing ordinary things. And somehow, that was enough. Somehow, that was everything. The signal led them into the Pacific Ocean. Yuna piloted a small craft beneath the waves, following the ancient pulse that called from the deep. Doyan sat beside her, monitoring the signal strength. Behind them, Taiho and Minji watched the darkness grow thicker with every passing minute. The ocean was another world. Life moved in the black water. Strange creatures with lights in their skin. Things with too many teeth. Things with no eyes at all. The deeper they went, the more alien Earth became. The humans have barely explored this, Minji said. Her voice was quiet. They have walked on their moon. They have sent machines to other planets. But their own ocean remains a mystery. Maybe they are afraid of what they might find, Doyan said. No one argued with him. They passed the depth where sunlight ended. Then the depth where pressure crushed normal vessels. The craft Yuna had built could withstand it, but barely. Warnings flashed on the screens. The hull groaned. Still the signal called them deeper. Then the sea floor disappeared. One moment they were following a rocky slope. The next, they were hovering over an abyss that had no bottom. The sensors could not find it. The darkness below was absolute. The signal is coming from down there, Doyan said. How far? I cannot tell. The readings make no sense. Yuna made her decision. We go down. The descent took 3 hours. 3 hours of falling through nothing. 3 hours of watching the pressure readings climb toward impossible numbers. The craft should have been destroyed 100 times over. It was not. Something was protecting them. When they finally landed, they were in a cavern that should not have existed. The walls glowed with a faint purple light. The air was breathable, though there should be no air at this depth. And in front of them stood a door. It was not human. It was not Velith, or Orium, or Tyrith. It was older than all of them. Older than the galaxy itself. Made of something that was not metal, or stone, or any material. Yuna could name. The door opened. A human woman stepped out. She was young, maybe 30 by human years. She wore a simple uniform with no markings. Her hair was black, her eyes were dark, and her face held no surprise at seeing 4 aliens at the bottom of her ocean. You made it further than most, she said. Yuna's hand went to her weapon. Taiho already had his drawn. Who are you? Yuna demanded. My name is Nari. I am a keeper. A keeper of what? Nari smiled. It was not a happy smile. Come, I will show you. She turned and walked back through the door. The 4 aliens looked at each other. This could be a trap. This could be death. But they had come too far to stop now. They followed. The corridor beyond was long and straight. The purple light pulsed like a heartbeat. With each step, Yuna felt something pressing against her mind. Not painful, just heavy, like the weight of something vast and old, noticing her existence. The keepers have existed for a long time, Nari said as she walked. Longer than human memory, longer than human history. We do not know who created us. We do not know why we were chosen. We only know our duty, to guard the sleepers, Doyan said. To guard the sleepers, and to stop anyone who tries to reach them. 17 civilizations, Yuna said. Your people destroyed 17 civilizations. Nari stopped. She turned to face them. No, the sleepers destroyed 17 civilizations. We just could not save them in time. Her eyes were old, far older than her face. Every empire that came here thought they could control what sleeps below. They thought power was something that could be taken, used, owned. They did not understand that some powers are not meant to be touched. Some doors are not meant to be opened. What are they? Minji asked. The sleepers. What are they? Nari looked at her for a long moment. You really want to know? Yes. Nari turned and continued walking. The corridor ended in a chamber. Yuna had seen many things in her life. Ancient temples, alien gods, machines that defied physics. But nothing had prepared her for this. The chamber was vast, miles wide, miles deep, and in its center, suspended in light that was not light, were beings that were not beings. They had no shape, no form. They were ideas made flesh, concepts given hunger. They were what existed before the universe had rules, before time had meaning. Before existence had limits, they were beautiful. They were terrible. They were everything. And they were sleeping. Yuna felt her mind trying to understand what she was seeing. It could not. It kept sliding away from the truth, like water off glass. Some things were too big for thought, too old for language, too wrong for sanity. They came to this galaxy when it was young, Nari said. They consumed everything. Species, worlds, stars. They ate reality itself and grew fat on the screams of dying universes. What stopped them? Taiho whispered. We did. Narration stood at the edge of the chamber, small and fragile against the vastness before her. The first humans, before we had names, before we had language, before we had anything but our hands and our hearts. We looked at these things, these gods, these monsters, and we said no. How? We do not know. The records from that time are more feeling than fact, but we know what happened. We know that the sleepers tried to take Earth. They tried to consume our world like they had consumed so many others. And we refused. She turned to face them. Not with weapons. We had none. Not with technology. We had barely discovered fire. We refused with our will, our stubbornness, our absolute unshakable belief that this was our home and nothing would take it from us. That is impossible, Minji said. Yes, it is. But it happened anyway, Nari pointed at the sleepers. They tried to break us. They showed us visions of death. They promised us power. They threatened us with pain beyond imagination. And every time, every single time, we said no. We said it so strongly, so completely, that it became real. Our no became a cage. Our defiance became chains. And they've been sleeping ever since, Yuna said. They dream. They wait. They whisper to anyone who will listen. Every civilization that found them heard those whispers. They heard promises of power, knowledge, immortality, and they listened. They tried to wake the sleepers. What happened to them? Nari's face was sad. The sleepers showed them what they really were. No mind can survive that truth. No empire can function when its people see the face of oblivion. They broke. They fell. They died. And we were left to clean up the mess. Yuna looked at the sleeping gods. Even now, even in chains of human will, they radiated wrongness. Just being near them made her want to scream. Why are you telling us this? She asked. 'Cause you were different, Nari said. You did not come here for power. You came here for understanding. In all my years as a keeper, I have never met anyone like you. She walked toward them. Her footsteps echoed in the vast chamber. The Velith wanted to wake them. The Orium wanted to study them. The Tyrith wanted to use them as weapons. Every empire thought they were special. Every empire thought they could succeed where others had failed. And you came to learn why they failed. That is new. That is hope. Nari reached out and touched Yuna's hand. Her skin was warm, human, fragile. The sleepers will wake someday. Not today, not tomorrow. But eventually, human stubbornness will not be enough. Our will is strong, but it is not infinite. And when we finally break, when the cage finally opens, everything dies. Can we help? Nari smiled. For the first time, it was a real smile. You can do what no one else has done. You can go back. You can tell your people the truth. Not to fear us, not to hate us, but to leave us alone. To let us do our duty, to stop sending empires to die against our shores. She looked at the sleepers one more time. That is the best help anyone can give. Us, time, peace, and the silence to keep. Dreaming, the return to the surface was silent. No one spoke as the craft rose through the darkness. No one looked at each other. They had seen something that changed everything. Something that made all their previous knowledge seem small and foolish and blind. The sleepers. The true enemy. The things that had eaten galaxies before humans had learned to walk, and humans. These soft, fragile, short-lived creatures were the only thing standing between that horror and the rest of existence. When they broke the surface, the sun was rising. Golden light spread across the ocean like a promise. Somewhere millions of humans were waking up, making breakfast, going to work, living their small, ordinary, magnificent lives. They did not know. Most of them would never know. They just kept going, kept fighting, kept refusing to give up. Min-Ji was the first to speak. I need to process this, she said. Her voice was thin, shaky. My entire understanding of the galaxy was wrong. Everything I studied, everything I believed. It was all based on incomplete information. It's not wrong, Doyen said. Just small. We were looking at the surface. The truth was always deeper. Taiho had not moved since they left the chamber. He sat in his seat, staring at nothing. His hands that had killed dozens of enemies in combat, were trembling. I have fought wars, he said. I have seen death. I have faced beings that wanted to end my life. But he shook his head. Those things were not enemies. Enemies can be understood. Fought, defeated. Those things were beyond all of it. And humans are holding them back, Yuna said, with nothing but stubbornness. With everything that makes them human. They returned to the pale horizon in orbit. The ship felt different now, smaller, more fragile. A tiny shell of metal floating in a universe that contained horrors beyond. Imagination, but it also contained humans. Yuna sat in her quarters and thought about Junho, the old man in his little shop, making soup for strangers, telling stories about his grandmother. Offering kindness to aliens he should have feared, that was the weapon. Not ships, or bombs, or armies. Kindness, stubbornness, the simple. Stubborn choice to keep going when everything said to stop. She began writing her report. It took 3 days. 3 days of trying to put into words what she had seen. 3 days of struggling to explain the unexplainable. Doyen helped. His talent for language made the impossible almost understandable. When it was done, they set course for home. The journey back was different. Quieter. The 4 of them had been changed by what they learned. They talked sometimes, but mostly they thought. About the universe. About their place in it. About what it meant that the fate of everything rested on the shoulders of a species that still argued about which food tasted better. Mingi studied the data. She had collected on human brains. Their neural patterns are chaotic, she said one evening. Random. Illogical. By our standards, they should barely be able to function. But that chaos is also creativity. Adaptation. The ability to believe impossible things and make them real. Their weakness is their strength, Doyen said. Exactly. They survive because they refuse to accept that they cannot. Logic says they should fail. They ignore logic and succeed anyway. Taiho had been silent for most of the trip, but on the last night before reaching Dominion space, he spoke. "I was trained to protect my people," he said. "To fight our enemies, to die if necessary. But I never understood what I was protecting. Not really. It was just duty, obligation, empty words." He looked out the window at the passing stars. "Now I understand. We protect the small things, the moments of peace, the laughter of children, the warmth of a meal shared with strangers. That is what matters. That is what the sleepers would destroy. Not just our lives, but everything that makes life worth living." He turned to face them. "The humans know this. They have always known it. That is why they are the guardians. Not because they are strong, because they understand what is worth guarding." When they reached the Dominion, Yuna requested an audience with the council. This time, they listened. She showed them everything. The recordings from the chamber, the truth about the sleepers, the history of 17 fallen civilizations, the warning that every empire had ignored. The council was silent for a long time. "What do you recommend?" The first speaker finally asked. "Leave them alone," Yuna said. "Do not send ships to Earth. Do not try to contact them. Do not interfere with their development. Let them be what they are. And if they fail, if the sleepers wake, then we all die. But if we interfere, if we distract them, if we weaken their will even slightly, we guarantee that failure. Our best chance is to let humanity do what they have always done. Live, fight, refuse to surrender." The council debated for 7 days. In the end, they agreed. Yuna's report was filed in the deepest archives of the Dominion. The 18th record of Earth. The first one that contained the full truth. The first one that recommended survival instead of conquest. Copies were sent to every known civilization. A warning, a plea, a prayer: do not go to Earth. Not because the Guardians will destroy you, but because if you weaken them, everything will be destroyed. Some listened, some did not. Yuna knew that there would always be those who thought they were different, special, strong enough to succeed. Where others had failed, they would learn. They would always learn. On Earth, life continued. Jana closed his shop at 2 in the morning, just like always. The city was finally quiet. The streets were empty except for a few wandering souls looking for comfort in the darkness. He stepped outside, looked up at the stars. They were beautiful tonight, bright and clear and countless. Each one a sun, each one perhaps circled by worlds. Each one perhaps home to beings who wondered about the universe just like he did. He thought about the strange visitors from a few weeks ago. The ones with the odd accents and the stranger eyes. He had not told anyone about them. Who would believe him? An old man seeing aliens in his noodle shop? But he knew what he had seen. He knew what they were looking for. And he knew, somewhere in his bones, in his blood, in the part of him that remembered things his mind could not, that this was not the first time visitors had come. It would not be the last. Humans had been standing watch for a very long time. They would stand watch for a very long time more. Not because they had to, not because they were forced to, but because that was what they did. That was what they had always done. They faced the darkness. They said no. And they meant it. John smiled and lit a cigarette. The smoke rose into the night air and disappeared among the stars. "Still here?" he said to no one. To everyone. To the sleepers dreaming in their deep prison. "Still here, you bastards? And we always will be." He finished his cigarette, locked the shop, and walked home. Behind him, the city slept. Millions of small lights and millions of small windows. Millions of small lives, each one precious, each one impossible. Each one a tiny act of defiance against the endless dark. This was humanity. This was Earth. This was the front line of a war that most people would never know existed, and they were winning. Not with weapons, not with ships, not with power, with soup, with stories, with stubborn, foolish, beautiful hope. The sleepers dreamed their dark dreams, and humanity dreamed louder.